Nick and Sean and Jeff for extending the definition of recently graduated. So this is from my novel in progress, and I'm really, really sorry if you don't understand. Darkness hasn't quite come for us, but this time of year the shadows loom long. The evening's chilly, so we return to the house for our jackets, latex gloves, and flashlights. From the radio on the counter, a panicked correspondent reports in a shrill voice. "The pastures look like battlefields," she squeals. "An unknown beast is tearing the town's cattle apart." News reports and social dramas all sound the same coming from the radio. "In or out," Mother chides, as she flips the meat. Don't let that screen door slam." We dash to our bedroom, grab jackets, and stuff flashlights and gloves in our pockets. On our way out, we ease the screen door shut with hardly a thump. The gully cuts the backyard before it twists into the woods. Clouds whistle in from the east. Runoff from 3 days' intermittent rains mixed with Mother's wash water keep the shallow banks a foamy mess. We have studied birds all our short lives. The geese retreating this time of year, the thrushes bobbing along the tree line, the twitting towhees, the ravens. On previous missions, we have followed the gully into the heart of the woods like Uncle Harold taught us. We have hiked through brambles and briars to see a bittern on the banks of the unholy reservoir that the prisoners dug. But now the trees have shed their leaves. The birds, what ones remain, seek cover in the dead forest. They return to their nests near dusk to bide the night. We have observed strange migrations and are concerned about the spread of an avian pox. We hop stone to stone to avoid the sludge best we can. Our smallness helps keep us nimble, makes it easier, we think, to shield ourselves behind stumps and spy on birds or whatever else needs spying on. Sometimes, when we're in town, we're mistaken for young children, even though we should be halfway through high school by now. Old enough to know that there's no monster on the loose, nothing slouching through the countryside in the dark. We know a bat from a bat, not like the would-be news reporters in Mother's radio shows. We hunch under the barbed wire fence at the tree line, trying not to snag our coats. Still, Mother worries when we search the woods in the darkness. If Uncle Harold were here, she would think nothing of letting us roam the woods at night. One time, between his job building dams up north and his leaving for war, he took us on a hunting trip. We paddled in a flat-bottomed boat along the marshy reeds by the reservoir deep past midnight. It was the wee morning when we bagged our last frog, and we were too tired to haul the boat home. We camped for a while in a dilapidated chicken coop number 2, folks, near the creek. When I was your age, everybody was in the Scouts, Uncle Harold said. He closed the lid on a secret chamber in the floor where he stowed a bag of bloody frogs. Then he showed us how to zip our jackets together to make a blanket. We snuggled under his hairy arms and told ourselves ghost stories until the first morning light. We miss Uncle Harold terribly, so we parse the radio broadcasts, listening for word of truce or victory. Until then, the empty school bus where he lives sits vacant on the other side of the gully while we await his return. Just past the pines, it is too dim to see, but we press a few yards further before we click on flashlights. Here, the gully veers to the west. Needles, leaves, and twigs obscure the path. They emit fumes that smell like the dying refrigerator you'd find in some poor grandmother's house. We tread lightly to avoid the telling crunch beneath our feet. The path leads to a clearing. We shine the light at a birch just on the other side. Someone has carved hashes into the bark, accounting for something. 1, 2, 3. A decaying rope dangles from a branch about halfway up, like it was once used for lynching or possibly a suicide. This is the landmark. On our tramps through the woods together, Uncle Harold has pointed it out. If we continued back towards the creek a ways, we'd come upon the chicken coop where we camped with Harold. That place always reminds us of the tale Mother used to tell about Hansel and Hansel, young boys who wander the woods after dark searching for birds. They stray farther and farther and eventually happen upon a hollow tree. A gentlemanly vampire living in the tree invites the boys for cakes and tea, but they resist, saying their mother has them on a strictly sugar-free diet. When Hansel and Hansel don't accept his hospitality, the vampire, enraged, chases them into a dilapidated chicken coop. The only birds there are rare, and the sort of magpie the ancient monster eats to stay alive. But tonight it is too late for deep forest hikes and for chicken coops, so we contain our research to the clearing. Our jackets have epaulets and snap pockets for our tools. Mother adds these safari-style touches to clothes she brings home from the TG and Y. Sometimes, when we were very young, she would dress us as little boys in matching blue vests and argyle socks tugged to our knees. Other times we went as little girls wearing rosy bonnets and lacy frocks. Times when we ask her where we came from, Mother says, "You were gander eggs in a potato sack." These days she worries too much because the radio chatters anxiously about a scout gone missing while gathering botanical specimens in the woods. Problem is, all the stories come in newscast format. Coverage from the battlefront, the weekly almanac, monster cereals, and sacrificial rites. Uncle Harold taught us this tactic is meant to confuse the enemy if they intercept the emissions. It also serves to send encoded messages to Allied troops in ambiguous territory. But out our front window, we have seen emergency vehicles speed toward the reservoir, sirens blaring. When they scream past, their yellow and gold beams light the countryside like some magical casino. We believe the local law syndicate is looking for someone, botanical specimens or no. Thank you.